Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the Sunrise Safari, where we're coming to you live from a very misty Amakhala Game Reserve down in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa. My name is Ralph Kirsten. On the camera I've got Morgan Mulholland. Guten Morgen and Guten Morgen to all of you. Welcome aboard the greatest and largest game drive in the world. And as always, please don't forget that this is a live and interactive experience, so we'd love for you to jump on board with us and send us through your questions and your comments. You can do that by going on the Wild Earth website and registering. You can also download the app, and we'd love for you to join the conversation using the hashtag WildEarth on X, formerly known as Twitter. Also on all of the other socials, on Facebook and on YouTube Live, using the @FC. What is it that you'd like to chat about? What is it that you'd like to see? Whatever it is wildlife related, send it on through. And I'm not the only one that's out this morning trying to see what we can find, especially for us in this mist. There's also Eric and Ben, they'll be in the Lowveld, and David Gitu, he'll be out in the Masai Mara. So we've got our best Umtata scuba gear on to be able to delve into this deluge that you can see in front of us. It is very misty. I would almost say it's fog, thicker than mist. But what are we going to do this morning? I'm not quite sure. Morgan, what are we going to do? Morgan, try and see something in the mist. I think we'll head on to the main reserve and we'll see, maybe we can get something special this morning. Yesterday we were after special sightings, including brown hyena, caracal, of course we got the aardvark. Beat that, boys. And speaking of beating that, boys, over to you, Eric.
Another sunrise safari where you are now with us live in the Sabi Sands as we are, well, we had a slither of the sun rising there. Now some clouds are rolling in here, not grumpy clouds but thin clouds. Anyway, hello everyone, my name is Eric, joined by Chad, who is on the camera, and this morning we are going to be out and about looking for some whiskers. We are hoping for some rosettes. We are crossing fingers. We've had a couple of tawnies, and it seems like there may be tawnies around the Chitwa and little Gowrie area. We're not too sure. We received news that they had left a buffalo carcass that they had taken down. What are we? I think it was Thursday or Friday, and hoping that maybe them moving west has maybe flushed out a couple of the rosettes. So we shall see. We shall hope and see, hope and pray. But other than failing to find some rosettes, we will maybe see some elephants or something else. But in the meantime, while we watch the bums of the impala walking off into the distance, we're going to send you over to the beautiful Sandringham, where Ben is waiting to say good morning and his special guest.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, we are watching sunrise over the Sandringham Game Reserve. My name is Ben Coley, and I have a very special guest with me this morning and this afternoon. Let me reveal him to everybody. This is international author Tony Park, author of 23 novels and another 10 non-fiction books, many of which are set here in Africa, in this area. And we do have a fireside chat this evening, don't forget, 7 o'clock, so don't forget to tune in for that. Tony and I will be discussing his latest book, but he is joining me on the drive today. Tony, very warm welcome to you. Feel free to say hello to everybody.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. I'm really looking forward to being part of this drive today.
Hopefully you bring us some luck. This morning I feel obliged to let you know that last night we were looking for the Sandringham Pride, and if you recall, those of you who are watching, we got stuck in an elephant roadblock about 10 minutes before the end of drive, and I feel I have to tell you that after we got past the elephant roadblock. We drove around the corner, and what was it, Ben? About 3 minutes later, we found the lions lying next to the road. So we're heading into that area this morning now to see what we can find. Catherine, I'm glad you're happy to see Tony on drive. Tony, I think your reputation precedes you. People are gushing with praise that you have joined us. So yeah, Tony's going to be giving us some insights into the area and some of his background and some of his novels as we are driving around. But plan for this morning, well, I'm still out and about just exploring the reserve. So my first time here. Yesterday was my first afternoon drive. We had some lovely sightings. But I would very much like to see the Black Dam Pride. But we will take whatever we can get. But in the meantime, we're going to send you back across to Eric, and we are going to continue our search.
We are now moving along a very chilly drainage line. Obviously, the further down we move, the colder it becomes, and obviously this cloud cover that's coming over is not going to help the situation. It's going to mean that the warming up of the atmosphere and the warming up of this area is just going to take just that extra little bit longer without the without clear view of sight of the sun. But that's fine. That's fine. Nice cool weather means that predators are more likely to move around just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Now, this so early in the morning, it's very important to look for tracks, signs of movement of animals from the evening. There would have been a fair amount of that, you know, I always find the best times to look for tracks, especially when it has rained at night. No, last night it didn't rain. It rained a little way through last week. When it rains at night time, then it makes things just that extra bit easier, because then it's a clean slate everywhere. And anything that has walked around that you can see generally means that it has walked around after the rain has come, meaning that you might not be too far behind it, depending on how fresh it looks. But generally those tracks would have been made only hours before one had driven along these roads. However, we are not dealing with that now, so we're going to now have to look at how old the track potentially looks like.
Let's go and take a look. See you out there.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
Would you like to know at what age a buffalo calf gets its horns? These are questions that you can ask me in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive here in the heart of Africa. Join me on Safari Live and connect with nature.
This is brilliant.
Ria, you say the best kind of roadblock? Absolutely. Look at this.
Hello, girls.
Out here, every moment counts. As a Wild Earth explorer, you won't miss a thing. Watch the Wild Earth channel ad-free 24/7 and rewind if you want to catch something again. Enjoy behind-the-scenes videos, fireside chats, and early access to travel offers. It's the best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family. Personally, I think the sunset safari would be my favorite, but that's if I had to pick. Anyway, we are going to send you back up to the Mara, to say good morning to David and James.
Kulisogea na kiasi. Kada joka hali ya nyuma. Kamu.
So sometimes when you come out and drive and you don't have any plan, these drives sometimes turn into the most eventful. And that's exactly what we've done this morning. Come out with absolutely zero plan because of the lack of visibility. But driving up the road, and what we first thought was lovely fresh brown hyena tracks, just because of the shape of the track itself, as well as the claw marks in the track. And we do see a lot of activity from the brown hyenas in the early morning. Generally, we don't find them, though, because they've been busy overnight. However, in this track that I first thought may have been brown hyena, I thought, oh, that doesn't look quite right. And on closer inspection, I started to see the 3 lobes at the back. But seeing these claw marks in the front made us think of brown hyena. But when I looked closer and I stopped because there was something saying to me that this isn't brown hyena for some reason, obviously I started to pick up those 3 lobes in the proximal pad, plus there was more than one of them. And we do know that we have 3 boys that are walking around together. They were seen, was it yesterday? Day before yesterday. On all of these days seem to roll into one now. But day before yesterday, they were on the far western side of the reserve. So Catherine, absolutely, these are perfect paw prints. It's in perfect substrate. This is nice soft sand in the early morning. There's a bit of dew, so we also get a nice imprint into the sand. We also have a little bit of aging because there is some dew that has dripped or sort of settled on top of this track. So this is a very fresh track, but maybe not within the last hour, maybe in the last couple of hours, because, as I say, heavy mist that we've had in the last couple of hours, and it is settling onto the soil itself. So this is the 3 Amigo cheetah. They've walked up this little embankment off of the road, and this is where we were following the track up the road, and now it's headed off the road. And so intuitively, we are obviously going to try and find them, but we need to now leapfrog and try and get into the area where they are, which might have taken, as I say, probably, I would guess this track at within 2 to 3 hours. So within 2 to 3 hours, they could have walked quite a significant way, and we're going to see if we can go and find them. But while we do that, you're going to go a significant way all the way to the Mara.
Hello, and Jambo everybody from the Masai Mara of Kenya, and good luck, Rolf. Hopefully before you leave for your break, you are going to catch up with your 3 amigos. Here I got about 7 amigos, but not of cheetahs. I got 7 amigos of the elephants. I've been following these elephants here for quite some time, for the last couple of days, and I think these elephants here love staying very, very close to the camp. My name is David, and on camera with me this Sunrise Safari is Big James, aka BJ. Now, I'm very happy for only one obvious reason. I have started the drive with James's favorite animals, the elephants that he loves, to film on a very cold morning in Masai Mara here of 17 degrees Celsius or 62 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, this particular family, for about 10 days now, I have found it loves hanging around the camp. I'm talking about the camp we are staying in, called the Governor's Camp. And they'll always be around here. And maybe if this continues, I might be giving this particular family of elephants a name. We're staying in a camp where James will be showing you some images shortly. That's called Governor's Camp, a very old and one of the iconic camps of the Mara. And you can see where the Ellies are, I would say about 300 yards from that beautiful camp. Look at the tents. They got humongous family tents. So 50, you're saying these elephants have started the drive for you. Well, please stay with us because we might be showing you a lot more elephants than this. And look at that huge tent there. I was saying they got humongous tents, and that's the camp and that's the elephant. You can see how close they are. Just about barely 300 yards away. We cannot forget to thank the Narok County government for making us come back here in the Mara and making our stay very, very comfortable. So if these elephants continued hanging around and seeing them almost every other day, me and James will try and get a name for them, because they got 3 youngsters. One of the calves there, if you look carefully, is pretty small, maybe about 2 months old. That one James showing you there. Anna Marie, Jambo from the Masai Mara, always wonderful to hear your name. And James BJ says hello to you. So Anna Marie, look at that youngster there, and imagining you have your cup of coffee at the balcony of Governor's Camp and watching this family feeding early in the morning. And we all know many animals are very emotional when they use their tails. And this is very clear that these individuals, they are in a very good world. I mean, left, right, right, left for the tails. To me, they're saying life is good. Enough to eat, enough to drink, huge space. No reason to worry, is what we say here in Kenya, Hakuna Matata. Now, of the two or the three adults here, I'm not sure which is the matriarch. Linda Polly, Jumbo from myself and Big James for the Masai Mara, and you're saying you are loving everything we're showing you, the youngsters, the calves here, and I've always said, and I'm sure many of the guides here, my colleagues will say, anything baby here in Africa is just amazing, be it baby elephants, baby rhinos, baby cheetahs, baby anything. They always gives us a lot of peace in our mind when we are out here knowing all the species are thriving, when you see new generations coming up of all the animals we have here. We are always guaranteed of the continuity of our job and to bring you these amazing images on your screens. Could be this is one of my best mornings here in the Mara. I'm just looking at the light and the location of these ellies and the trees in the background there. I've said many times that is a riverine forest that's just along the Mara River. And you've seen how close the camp is. The camp sits just on the banks of the famous Mara River. On the campgrounds, many times we'll have warthogs, pigs just running around. Almost every dinner time, we'll see a hippo, one or two, coming to the campgrounds to graze. And those trees you see there at night, bush babies, some hornbills, keep us going, you know, doing some very nice lullabies for us before we are able to fall asleep. When they're too busy, we don't sleep very well because they just keep. And especially the bush babies, if it happens, there's breeding time going on. Ellies will come through the camp at night, minding their own business, or telling us, you know, we found them there before the camp came in. So the camp is not fenced. They'll come eat, and then they leave. By the time we wake up in the morning, we'll just see a lot of dung from the ellies, and sometimes you can tell by the warmth of the dung how long ago they had visited us. So there are three adults here, and I've been trying to identify or think which one could be the matriarch. So 3 adults, 4 youngsters, that makes 7. So we'll need to mark this family because I think the same family that keeps coming. So with the number, that can help us follow it. And then you will see if any of the adults have any mark we can use to be 100% certain that this is the family. Now, I might spend here a few more minutes, but in the meantime, we'll take you to Ben, who has jumped out of the vehicle.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
Would you like to know the difference between a male and a female wildebeest? You can ask me questions like this in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive here in the heart of Africa. Join me on Safari Live and connect with nature.
The bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold. A mix of drama,
She's just got an impala, everybody.
danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
Hello everybody, well welcome back to Sandringham. Sorry you lost Eric there. Oh, we've got an emerald spotted dove that was ironically playing chicken in the road, but seems to have moved out of the way now. I've decided that the lions probably went that way. So the blocks here on Sandringham are quite big, but there is a loop that we can take that's going to take us round in this area. So we're going to have a little look, see what we can find. Just wait for this vehicle to come past. Ah, Panda, is that a crested barbet up there? Should we see if we can pop him on camera, make him famous this morning? So hopefully, Tony, you can bring us some good luck with these lions. I know you've been on to Sandringham before. Have you seen this lion pride here?
Yeah, we have actually. Last time Nicola, my wife, and I came, we stopped for a sundowner drink, and supposedly there was nothing around, and Nicola turned around and said, oh, about 10 metres away there's a lion. It's a lovely big male that we then followed for a little while. Spectacular to see him here on this reserve, safe and sound.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully you can bring us some good fortune. Sorry everybody, that crested barbet apparently was not in the mood for his 5 minutes of fame. He had about 20 seconds of fame. But it is a beautiful bird, the crested barbet, one of my favourites. That sort of real cacophony of colours, of blacks and yellows and reds and all sorts going on those feathers. But yeah, a bit of a voyage of discovery for me here, not knowing this reserve and having sort of an idea, not having really an idea of how big these blocks are and where things go. I do have a map, you'll be happy to know, Tony, so don't worry, we will find our way home. But yeah, no evidence of the lions coming down the main road, so this road we're taking is going to take us on quite a big loop. You can see it's quite thick here, and with the elephant population they've done quite a lot of damage in here, so it's quite hard to get the vehicle off the road. Monique is a fellow writer apparently, and she's very excited to welcome a kindred spirit onto the show this afternoon.
Well, welcome, Monique. Fantastic. I wish you well with your writing.
As I've got a lot of respect for writers in general. As somebody who enjoys a little bit of creative writing, I do a few articles and things, mostly with regards to my astronomy interests and things, do some writing for the local papers, but how you go around putting together a 400 or 500 page book sometimes is beyond me. The thought of planning something like that fills me with great trepidation. But how long does it take you to put together a book on average from start to finish?
It takes me about 6 months from the time I begin, and it's interesting you talk about planning. There's two ways to write. You can either plot it and plan it all out in advance, or you can just make it up as you go along, which is what I do. And there's a term for us, we're called pantsers, people that write by the seat of their pants. So I don't know which one you are, Monique, but each way is valid. It's there's no shortcuts, and the most important thing is you have to love doing it.
I think that makes the most sense, and I'm sure because you do a lot of writing about African wildlife and conservation initiatives and things, and I have no doubt that if you're passionate about it, it just sort of to some extent it writes itself.
Yeah, well, it's probably like your job as well. The secret is that if you love doing what you do, it's not like working. Yeah. And yeah, there's a bit of research involved on the conservation side, but as someone who's also passionate about wildlife, that's part of the fun, learning about it, wildlife, about animals, and working them into the stories sometime as well too.
Oh, I think that was a little bee eater. Let's just see if we can get another look. Did you maybe see it, Panda? Did you see where he went? I just saw a flash of yellowy green. Did you see him? From where we are? Okay, I can't see it, so I'll take your word for it. Oh, up there. Yeesh, your eyes are good this morning. There we go, everyone. So it's a little bit far, but you could just see a little bit of that green as the sun gets higher, and you can see that lovely flash of yellow under the throat. Always have those little waggly tails. One of my favourite birds, these bee eaters, and looking forward to summer when some of our other more colourful bee eaters come back. It's always a treat to see the carmines. We don't often get too many in this area, weirdly, but I always find with the carmines you can go to one reserve and see lots, and then go to another reserve maybe 10 kilometres up the road and unable to see a single carmine. What you often find with these bee eaters is they will flit up, try and catch one of these little stinging insects on the wing, and then they'll often return to the same perch. So if you are a keen photographer, it's worth noting where their sort of favourite perches are, and they'll often take off and then return back to the same perch, so you can just train your camera and try and get them coming into land. But incredibly agile little things, and especially adapted, quite short wings but quite sort of pointy wings to be able to give them really good agility to chase after those insects and grab them out of the sky. Okay, it sounds like we might have fixed our little issue with Eric, so let's head back over and see what he's up to now.
My voice is back. I've got it here. Anyway, so like I was saying, we found ourselves a dead tree, pretty big dead tree, and sitting on this dead tree, enjoying it, perched up quite high near branches that can break, is a vulture. Now, what I also said, there's many ways to try and figure out if a bird of prey is a vulture or not. And the one is the situation of its head. Look where its head is. It's below its back, below the shoulders. This is typical typical vulture stance. But then one thing is, when it was facing us, you could see almost what looked like massive shoulder pads almost. And those are the wings. Vultures have a very, very large wingspan, and they are very large birds in general. And then you can also see the hooked beak and the big, thick beak as well. Now, this is a white-backed vulture, one of the many species of vulture that we get here, well, that we get in South Africa. We get the Cape vulture, obviously the white-backed vulture, the white-headed vulture, the leopard-faced vulture, the hooded vulture, and the palm nut vulture. I know that there was actually a recent sighting of a palm nut vulture down in the Eastern Cape, which is very, very exciting, of course, as the Eastern Cape has a very, very little population of vultures. These animals are endangered and are used for a lot of traditional work. They are poisoned by their numbers, which is very, very unfortunate and something that definitely needs to stop. Liesel, absolutely. They are interesting birds. They really are. I love watching vultures on a carcass, because there's all sorts of fighting and jumping around, and there is a hierarchy, there's a hierarchy around the carcass. There's the older sort of generals, in a sense. You always see them standing sort of proud and on top. Oh my goodness, I could actually hear him scratching his face there. But the older vultures generally take charge, and I'll never forget it. Seeing all those vultures on that elephant kill last year, exactly, maybe not this time last year, but within a few weeks of exactly this time last year. And this big vulture was he was standing there with his wings open, looking around, and then all of a sudden would jump at another vulture, try and clear it out of the carcass, because now it wants to get at some of the meat there. And there was a lot of fighting, a lot of cackling around them, and of course it was primarily just the white-backed vulture, and then the hooded vulture on the outskirts. Now, the hooded vulture is a slightly smaller vulture, thinner beak. You usually see them first at the carcasses, and we saw two earlier this week. Earlier last week, shall I say, when we were sitting with the two Nzenga males as they were munching on it was a zebra carcass. Now, this obviously is part of the old vultures.
We'll see you out on the safari.
It could be a very exciting morning.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
My full name is Cedric Leslie Dold. I grew up mostly in the Lowveld. I grew up here pretty much on the southern side of Kruger National Park, a place called Marlow Park, for most of my years. Something surprising about myself, I did play drums in a band for many years. Best sighting I presented, we found Langa and the 2 cubs, and the cubs are just way big.
There's some ellies that we're approaching now.
The light on her as well is absolutely gorgeous.
So we are going to enjoy the rest of this sunset.
Wow, this is absolutely crazy.
And thank you for joining us. For myself and Cam, we will see you next time.
Decided to swing by the Mara River, as my plans today are to look for my boys, the Topi boys, but you'll always get tempted to swing by any water body, because we all know water is life, and it's because of this water or the Mara River that has kept these hippos where they are. As I said earlier, the temperatures were a bit cold when we started the drive, and possibly it's rather warm in the water for these hippos. Another 1 hour, 2 hours, when the water may get a little bit cold, the temperature go down, they will definitely leave and come on the banks or small little beaches by the river to warm up. Just making sure they keep their heads high. As you're saying, this spot is very peaceful, and I'll tell you, every time I'll always not miss to swing by here, whether I'll be having a live segment or not, but I'll just pass by here, wave at the hippos, and tell them to have a good day. But so quiet, as you say, it's very peaceful. I hope you can hear that. It's very therapeutic just, to sit here and hear the hippos communicate, whatever language, whatever plants they're having. But all this is one same family, huge family. I just counted a quick 45 of them, but they're all spread out as James is showing you. Good camera work, Big James there. Well, we started with elephants, and I'm sure Ben may also want to show you a different elephant in South Africa.
Thanks, David. Yeah, we found our first mammal of the morning. We've got a young bull elephant who seems to be off on his own. He's just come and had a little investigation of the car. I think he decided he wanted to cross somewhere close to here and was a little bit perturbed by our presence, but I think he's going to find an alternative route. I don't see any others here. He's quite young to be out on his own, but of course this is normal for young elephants. They do go off exploring their surroundings and discovering themselves, and also quite normal to see them in little groups. It's possible he's trailing a herd as well. He's raised his trunk up a couple of times and had a good sniff, so maybe he's just lagging behind the rest of the herd. Quite normal for young bulls to do that. doesn't seem to be stopping to feed very often. When we saw him, he just sort of came over the crest of the hill and has been slowly meandering his way. He's grabbing a couple of titbits on the way through, but I get the impression he's trailing something. Jamie, elephant bulls generally are, I wouldn't really ever say welcomed into a herd. Once they become sexually mature and they leave their natal herds, they are, let's say, asked nicely to leave by their mother and by the matriarch and the other older females in the group. Do you want me to move quickly, Panda? No, just reverse the touch. Sorry, he's just disappeared behind the trees to try and get you another view. And then they live a relatively solitary existence. They don't really associate with other herds. We get little bachelor groups of males, or they become fairly nomadic and do their own thing. The only time you'll ever really see a big male with another breeding herd is if he has got wind of, quite literally, some hormones that are being released by a female who's coming into estrus. She will be sending out those chemical scent signals through her dung and urine that will attract him. Also, the females will also rumble that infrasonic sound that we can't hear, and he will pick up on that and head towards the herd, and if he's lucky enough, he will have some mating opportunities. And once that period is done, he will head off on his own again. So they're never really sort of accepted into another herd. Okay, but this elephant's going to head off. Sorry, Jordan, I didn't quite hear where we're going to go to next, but we are going to send you to one of our other feeds.
So you may just be able to see there in the mist, we're making Morgan earn his breakfast with the visibility, which is absolutely terrible. There are two tiny little hartebeest babies there, if you potentially can see them. A lot of them are being dropped now. What do you see in the background? Oh, hello, what is that? Jeepers. Is it zebra? It looks like a zebra, yeah. There I can see some stripes. Anyway, the 3 cheetah boys have headed into this area, so we're circling around trying to find them. It's been an incredible morning for tracking. I've seen porcupine with baby porcupine tracks. I've seen brown hyena with, would you believe it, baby brown hyena tracks. And I've also seen honey badger tracks. No honey badger baby tracks, but jeepers. So we've had, in the space of an hour, 3 cheetah boys tracks, honey badger, porcupine, and brown hyena. And so we're going to keep circling around this area. Who knows which one of those we're going to find. Any one of them would be amazing. But anyway, let's head you on over to a less misty area for now in the Mara.
If anything you can do, Rolf, just come to the Mara. You've been in the Mara before, and get out of the mist and come and enjoy this glorious light in the morning and beautiful weather we have here. In general, these are our mornings in the Mara. Just wonderful. We have a baby croc there, and I've called this river many times. It's a river that brings life, and it's a river that takes life. Many hatchlings of crocs will be just very close to the banks of the river. Hippos will give birth by the river, but also in the same river where we'll get zebras, wildebeest during the migration, when crossing this river, are brought down either by lions or crocodiles. That's my little small or short story of a river of life and death.
My full name is Cedric Leslie Dold. The best driver at Wild Earth, it is me. I believe I'm the best driver. I think so because I've. Best part of my job, I say, is just to try and look out for these animals, track them down. I love tracking animals. I love looking for, fresh tracks, and if you can find them, it's just at the moment of accomplishment. If I wasn't a presenter for Wild Earth, I would be the drummer for AC/DC.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
Out here, every wild moment matters, and as a Wild Earth explorer, you won't miss a thing. Watch the Wild Earth channel, ad-free 24/7, where you can even rewind and watch something again. Get access to behind-the-scenes videos, fireside chats, and access to early travel offers. It is the best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family.
Meaning they are doing very well. I would say we've got hundreds of them along this river. Daniel, this river, as I was saying, starts in an area called the Mau Escarpment on the Kenya Highlands. And 65% or so of it flows through Kenya, and mainly the Masai Mara region. And then it goes all the way to Serengeti in Tanzania. Serengeti is a national park, one of the largest national parks in Tanzania, which neighbors Masai Mara, and maybe 30-35% of the river flows through that national park, and it drains in Lake Victoria. Of course, that should be the source of the Nile. So Daniel, you would imagine this water going through these hippos one day, it will end up in Egypt, and then in the Mediterranean Sea. You can see how connected we are as human beings or animals. So this river means a lot to the people going to the north. Strange, because the river Nile flows northwards. So the hippo just make sure the eyes are up every couple of minutes. The nostrils will go up, get a fresh amount of oxygen. And this is not one of the best spots for me to jump out of the vehicle. Hippos are quite dangerous, and Eric is in a safe place.
Well, we'd like to think we're in a safe place. We're still out here in the wild and anything could walk past whenever it wants. Now, we are underneath a tree where up there we had a African green pigeon's nest, and we've driven this road a couple of times and seen her sitting on her nest, rearranging herself. It's a little platform nest made of little sticks, and when we drove past this morning, we noticed that the nest was empty. So the first thought was, oh, she's maybe gone out to go and find some food, perhaps. And upon looking even closer, it actually looks like the nest has been not destroyed, but the nest is far less than what it was. And we came all the way up to the top of this termite mound just to have a look and see if we could see anything. And unfortunately, we have found an egg on the floor, but it's not a full egg. It is a broken egg. I'll move some of these leaves and the sticks. You can see the ants have already gone in there. And the fact that we can see this yellow, which is most likely part of the yolk, there's a little bit more of it on this stick over here too, means that this egg probably had not hatched yet, as mother birds tend to, when the egg has hatched, take these eggs, take the egg shell, they fly it somewhere else, drop it there, so that when predators are at the bottom here, they don't look up towards the nest and attract unwanted attention. Now, Amanda, a couple of things could have done this to this poor pigeon's nest. My first sort of thought was wind. It could have been wind. It's at a very flimsy part of the tree. The second thought was maybe a slender mongoose. We have lots of slender mongoose in this area, and they are ferocious little creatures. I mean, I've seen one feeding on a carcass with Mulwati, the male leopard, at the bottom of the tree. The slender mongoose decided to scurry all the way up to the top of the tree where his carcass was, and was feeding on it. So much so to the point where that slender mongoose's belly was quite fat when it was done. He ate as much as he could and then tried to sort of scurry down the tree. Didn't fall, but was very close to falling. And could also may have been a bird of prey, maybe even a monkey. So there's a lot of different animals this could have potentially been, but very, very sad. But we're going to send you from a sad scene to hopefully a happier scene down in Namakala with Ralph.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Eric. Well, we are just doing the old loopity-loop through this area because within the last hour or two, we've got signs, and tracks never lie, of brown hyena, porcupine with baby, and the brown hyena was also with baby, honey badger, and 3 male cheetah. So they're around here somewhere. My feeling is the brown hyena and the porcupines and the honey badgers have probably gone into their secret hiding places, but the 3 amigos will be around here somewhere. The mist on this side of this area has started to lift. We've just come out of it. We're going to turn back and probably go back into it, but we still have the potential of seeing any, and maybe, who knows, even all of these animals. Catherine, that would be actually my number 1, would be the 2. Well, number 1 and 2 would be baby brown hyena and the little porcupine family that I've seen tracks of as well. So that is the potential here. It would be nice to see the 3 amigos, but we see them quite regularly. So it's always nice to see something a bit unusual, like we've had with the aardvark. And our goal is still to find caracal and brown hyena before we leave, which is tomorrow. So we're running out of time. So I thought maybe this morning is going to be the drive. But the signs are there, making us excited. but no other sign of them just yet. No visual. And that's why I'm just driving along slowly and looking for any visual movement of these chaps. Sometimes frustrating when you do get the fresh tracks, but you can't find the individual. When they're on the road, very clear. So speaking of rare animals, you know, sometimes animals that are pretty common but very rare to see, I want to send you on over to a virtual safari where it's not only a rarely seen animal, it's yeah, very special as well.
Alright everybody, wow, who said sunny days were the best days? We can also still go out here when it's even raining. So right on the other side, we've got a giraffe right over there, and he's also making it rain. So it's just dropping some pee. So we've been waiting here for more like a few minutes, and then there's just water dripping out of him. So that giraffe right over there, we call him Jerry. So on his back, so the story about Jerry, he survived the lion attack. And then there was a time we lost the lion due to a giraffe kick on its skull, which broke the jaw and broke the skull. So we believe it was him. So we call him Jerry the Lion Slayer. So to be able to identify Jerry, you just have to look at his rump. You can see the claw marks of the lions, and also on his tail is missing a little bit of some hair. So that's how we can be able to identify Jerry. So that's Jerry the Lion Slayer. Well, it's an unusual surprise. It's raining, and for rainy conditions like this, you don't expect much, right? So I've got a little bit of a surprise for you. A beautiful surprise, an amazing one. This is where you've been all this time. So everybody, we've been looking for what's right in front of us right now, and guess what? They got a kill of a zebra. So when it comes to the lion pride, there is a lot of competition, and especially when it comes to the males. So the father has got a tendency, or he would kick them out of the group once they start to reach their teen years, where they start to try and push one another and try to compete more within the group. Then he will be like, okay, enough is enough. This is my territory, out. And then he will banish them out of his territory. So for him, especially that cub while it's still that young, I find it a little bit interesting because he just chased it out of where the others are feeding. So it wanted to join and then start feeding on the carcass, and then he stood up and chased it off the carcass. So I'm wondering what's going on. But for a young lion like that, he's not posing any threat to his kingdom, to his territory. Alright everybody, just got a nice, beautiful, lovely sighting of a very rare bird species. So I did not expect to see this bird all the way this far, but wow, it's quite amazing. So right now I'm currently watching what we call a palm nut vulture. So it's a very rare bird that we don't get to see that often in the reserve. So when it comes to its distribution, it's mostly found in places like the Hosi Bay and the Umtunzini area. So you normally find their population around that side, but all the way down here in the Eastern Cape, and especially here at Sibuya, just to see one, this is really amazing. So looking up close onto the plumage, you can see the most part of the body is mostly brown, and then you can see the face, the red face is starting to come up. So the adults normally have got almost like a white head all the way up into the neck, and then they've got a black tail and with that bright red face, and you can see the bill is quite pointed, almost like an eagle's bill. It's a beautiful bird. Oh, look at that. So got some olive tree right over here and with some ripe olive fruit. So I'm gonna enjoy myself right over here now. Just enjoy the olive fruit. Nice and sweet. So these are some of the tasty snacks that I get to enjoy out here in the bush. The fruits. So we do have a few trees that also have some fruits that we can enjoy. So right now I'm currently enjoying the olive fruits from the African olive tree. So when it comes to taste, they don't taste like the olives that we normally have on while we're having our meals on the table. So these ones, they've got a little bit of some sweet taste, but well, it also depends with where the tree is growing. But the one that I'm currently enjoying right now, these fruits are quite sweet. Most bird species also enjoy the olives. For example, the olive pigeons also comes through to enjoy the olive fruits. And we also have things like monkeys. They'll go for the olive fruits. Even baboons, if they get an opportunity, they'll try and enjoy just a little bit of the olive fruits. Right, everybody, right on the other side where I'm currently facing, the moon is now rising, and just right behind me the sun is setting. So there will be quite a bit of some activities happening in the river, especially now during full moon. So you'll be seeing the fish jumping out of the water, just jumping into the light of the moon, which is quite amazing. And also for those who actually enjoy fishing, there's also a bit of some activities actually during full moon. And it's gonna be a lovely night with the light of the moon just illuminating through the earth. Such a beautiful view of the river down there, and there's the moon right on the other side.
Okay, very cool virtual safari for everybody to witness there. I've never actually tried one of those wild olives, but I may have to give it a go at some point. We've just stopped at a little river crossing here on Sandringham. We saw some quite fresh buffalo tracks going in the direction that Panda is looking at the moment. Also got what looks to be a nice weeping bourbeen there, but this one not flowering like the ones we saw yesterday, but quite normal to see them sprouting out of termite mounds like this. They do enjoy a good termitaria as a nice place to take up root. Of course, these termite mounds act like little nutrient hotspots. So much going on inside there, perfect growing conditions for the trees, with all the activity of the fungus gardens breaking down all of that material. Thousands of termites also dying and putting nutrients back into the soil. And then another thing that people don't often think about is with that extensive network of tunnels underneath the ground, that helps to aerate the soil, allows the oxygen and the nitrogen in particular to circulate through there, and it makes it easier for the tree roots to travel through the earth. They've got all roots have got what they call a root cap, which is kind of like a battering ram on the end of their root, so it can push through very compacted soil, but much easier to follow existing pathways that the tree has made for, that the termites have made for the tree. So there's another couple of little bee eaters flitting around, and a few, I was trying to identify a few little passerines that were flitting around. There's a little puddle of water just off to our left, and it's often a good place to find some little seed-eating birds, some waxbills, canaries.
This is an unbelievable afternoon.
The bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold. A mix of drama,
She's just got an impala, everybody.
danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
Well, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, when we broadcast right here from the wilderness of Africa, once in a while, we'll face a few challenges now and then, but we are back because the Mara is doing well. Now, I've been trying to move around and see if I'm going to catch up with my boys, the Topi boys. Not any that I have seen for now. What I want us to do is we look at some pigs, and I'm in a very nice open area where James in a few seconds will be showing you some pigs in the background, some Topis in the openness of the Masai Mara savannah. So very sorry about that technical challenge there, but there we are with some other peaceful animals. These are the watties, the warthogs, and in the background you can see the Topis up and down, and everybody busy feeding. I've always admired how the warthogs feed, kneeling down. Here where we have grown, we have always been used to make grace before feeding. And my grandpa used to tell me in the village, even the warthogs need to make grace as they feed. Only that us, we make grace once and then we dig in. Grace was saying how lovely to see all these animals together, interacting, with each other. You've got warthogs on one side, Topis on the other side. Not sure, from a distance, I saw some impalas, and everybody have enough to eat. There's enough space, and it's one of the reasons I've always said I want to continue being a guide as long as I live, because there's nothing better that I'll do than this. the background there, the beauty of the Mara. Sometimes this is more of just enjoying the sight than even talking. Busy Bee in UK, you're asking about the owl's nest that we saw, the Varrock's eagle owl nest that we showed you the other day. And I think we will do that for you. I mean, once we start the drive, that could be our first stop during the sunset drive. Thank you for that. Hopefully you'll be tuned in. But yeah, we'll try and swing by there. If we don't get any storms this afternoon, why not? Yeah, the reason I've always thought, apart from, making grace, of course, that's my own story I'm making, the warthogs need to get close to the vegetation or the grass they're feeding on. Because I've always thought warthogs don't have like necks like the head. It's just compacted to the body. They only have to bend a little bit or kneel to reach the grass, which also makes it easier for the mandibles to scrap it out, having a good leverage. And this even is for the youngsters that you see on the right there of your screen, not only the adult that is on the left. They learn that very early in life. Emir, you're saying warthogs are so fun to watch. If we are lucky and be able to catch some piglets, it will be even more fun. Right, I want to move around. I'm in the Paradise area. Hopefully we're gonna catch the Paradise Pride. I tried it yesterday, but they went in some very big thickets. Let's first go down to South Africa.
Yeah, thanks, David. I've got to say, everybody loves a warthog, and one of my favourite parts about summer is those little piglets. So I do hope you find some up there. We've stumbled across a blue wildebeest who is surveying his domain, this lovely open area here. We actually came around the corner and found him just lying in his little stomping ground, his little patch territory that he will often mark with his middens and then scrape the ground with those pedal glands in his front toes. One of the reasons those the tracks of the blue wildebeest are sort of quite blunted on the front foot, a way of marking scent, as well as the olfactory glands just under the eye. Sorry, olfactory glands, the preorbital glands just under the eye. What you'll often find is they'll have their preferred areas where they'll lie up, maybe under a little bit of an acacia tree. There'll be plenty of evidence of where he's been using the midden, and actually if you go and investigate that tree, you'll often find some sort of darkish stains on them, and there is a little pungent smell where he's been rubbing the head and just passing on his scent. And as with a lot of that scent marking, it doesn't smell sort of too much, but you can kind of activate it by blowing on it a bit of hot air from your mouth, and then if you have a sniff and it's got this sort of almost sort of sweet musky smell to it, you can do the same thing with those little the civet pastings that you often find next to the road as well. Just give them a little blow, and suddenly you can get a whiff of it all. But no sign of any females for this boy at the moment, so this is normal for wildebeest bulls. They'll hang out in an area which he will deem to be a good area, and you would think this is a good area, nice and open, short grass, there's water quite close by, but doesn't seem to have attracted any females at the moment. Gina, yes, their tails are rather beautiful, aren't they? And this one, I agree, in particular, it does have a very long tail. It's almost dragging along the ground. I feel he's going to leave some tracks almost from it, and used traditionally as well by some of the local sangomas, the witch doctors, as a, I don't want to sound derogatory, but like a magic wand, but sort of will swish around when they are doing their thing. He's going to stick his head in the bush now. Lots of guarries in this area as well. We saw the elephant actually feeding on one yesterday. They are what we call halophytes, magic guarries. So they like quite salty soils, and often these open areas like this is what we would call a sodic site. It's quite undulating, the terrain here, so we've got quite a few sort of sandy crests, and then when you get down to the bottom of those slopes you end up with what we call these sodic sites, because there's quite a lot of sodium in the granite bedrock here, which gets eroded away, and with chemical actions from the water it flows down the hill and then ends up on these flatter areas and actually forms like a crust across the top, which makes them quite sensitive. And not a great deal grows here, but when it does grow, it's very, very nutritious because everything needs salts. But it's an area that we certainly don't go off-road because it's very sensitive to the tyre tracks, because you end up with a lot of sodium in the soil, and everything has either positive or negative charge. So sodium is Na, if you remember your chemistry from school, and it's Na+. And if you put lots of pluses together, it's like putting the positive ends of magnets together, they repel each other. So the soil doesn't like sticking together, and if you drive over it and you create some ruts and some tracks there, it takes a very long time for that soil to recover. Okay, but we're going to leave this wildebeest to his little territorial march, just checking out his area, see what else we can find. We're going to send you back up to David and the Mara.
Well, that will be good news. And not that we or you haven't seen Topis before, but I stopped here for two reasons. Number one, the location of that Topi on a termite mound. This would make a wonderful portrait. Could be one of the best framing I have seen with BJ, Big James. He does a pretty good job, but this is a picture I've also taken using my phone. It looks so cool where he is, and I would want to believe it's more of a he than she. That's very typical with males. Second reason, when James will pan a little bit to the left where he is looking, you will notice there are so many youngsters there that look like either Grant's gazelles or Thomson gazelles, but they are not. They are babies of these adult Topis.
For years, we've shared virtual wildlife. Now, let's experience it for real. I'm Lauren Arthur, and I'd love to show you my amazing home here in the Greater Kruger of South Africa. This 5-night journey is an exclusive connection to my piece of untamed Africa. I live here in these gorgeous landscapes surrounded by epic wildlife. The wild is calling, so come and join me.
Even a hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word! She's stalking the hyena now. Leopard, hyena, lion, all together in one shot. Oh! Whoa! This is action-packed.
And that's it for this morning's drive.
She's just got her impala, everybody.
And we're going to be heading out and seeing what animals we can find.
Safari, wine, and waterfalls. The ultimate African adventure. Sip South Africa's finest wines. Experience a world-class safari among Africa's iconic wildlife. And stand in front of Victoria Falls, one of the natural wonders of the world. All this can be yours with Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
And you can see the clear difference between the mother and the calf and the angle she has taken to nurse. It's very interesting, getting a maximum angle, kneeling down just like the watties we were seeing a few minutes ago. So those walking, they're just blocking you, but she's still suckling. Just right there. And she got interrupted with the Topis as they walk by. Let's see if she restart to suckle. I will let you know. But great camera work. For the Topis, both males and females will have horns. Some lappings on the ground there. Oh, well done, James. This is so cool to watch. She seems to be a bit rough. Yeah, I mean, I would do the same if I was your mother. That's very rough. We were suckling. It's like she's competing with someone and not sure the mother is very comfortable with the way she's getting the milk. And she had to stop her. Come on, don't be rough. Not sure how many ounces of milk she got. Remember, this is live and interactive. We'll have you asking us questions. We'll have getting comments from you. Okay, Shotcroft, great comment there, and you're saying that is so cute. And my grandmother used to tell me there's nothing as peaceful as seeing a young one nursing. Both the mother and the baby in that particular moment are always very peaceful. Now the babies, most of them are up. Could be time to move to new grounds for feeding. Topis face challenges the youngsters of cheetahs, the adults of predators like leopards here in the Masai Mara. We got male leopards here, which very easily bring down fully grown Topis, 2-3 times their weight. And they stash them up in trees. Our male boy still remains on that termite mound. Cecile, you are saying the Topis look very similar to the red hartebeest. Apparently, yes. And not sure you have been seeing the Sesebes. Maybe I'll ask you a question, Cecile, today of the red hartebeest, the Sesebes, and the Topis. Which one do you think are more colorful? Which one do you think are cute between the three? Jumbo. Jumbo. Those are friends of ours staying in the camp with us. So Cecily, I got a question for you. And you will let me know between the three species, which one do you think are more colorful or could be your favorite. Now I'll head out. Again, as I said, I'm around the Paradise area. See if I'll be lucky today with the Paradise lionesses that I missed yesterday. In the meantime, Ben have decided to jump out of the vehicle.
Thanks, David. Good luck there. We have just discovered some evidence of something crossing the road. We've got a snake track. Of course, with it getting a little bit warmer now, we're beginning to see a little bit more activity from our reptiles, although it's suddenly clouded over here and got rather cool, I have to say, and there is even possibly a chance of rain later this afternoon, I've just discovered, which would be great for the bush. It's so dry at the moment. But lovely to see the snake track crossing the road. Was going in this direction, away from you, so which way? To your right. Which we can see, by the way, all of these mounds of sand have been pushed up. So as the snake was coming across the road, it's pushing against the sand to accelerate himself in this direction. And you can see by my hand the way that the sand builds up, so we can get an idea of direction. This is a classic serpentine movement of a snake, so much easier to tell direction. Sometimes, however, things like puff adders, pythons, when they're being a little bit lazy, they move in what we call a rectilinear motion, which is basically just in a straight line. That's a lot harder to establish direction if you see that, but what you can actually do is look at the individual little grains and try and see. You can see just by the movement of my hand how the stones have been pushed in one direction. So that would be the way we would try and establish direction for something like a puff adder. But quite what snake this was, very, very hard to say. Most snakes do use that sort of classic serpentine motion, but what I can tell you is it was going in this direction. Lola, it's difficult to say for sure, but like with any tracks, you can kind of see how shiny they are because the soil was recently disturbed. You have to take into account weather conditions. If it's particularly windy, a track will look older than it actually is because it's being blown around. But if you put a sort of a footprint down, you can see your fresh track is very, very obvious. Give it a little bit of time and it becomes less so. The edges become less defined. And we can also see that there's nothing on top of this track. We don't see any evidence of nocturnal animals, genet or civet or anything. There's nothing on top of the track here. It's nice and clean. So that suggests this was done either early this morning or at some point during the night. But I did have a look, no sign of the offending individual snake that left this track. We're going to keep looking, see if we can also catch up with those black dam lions. Haven't seen any other signs yet, but we're not giving up hope. But let's send you back to Eric in the meantime.
Oh, we're sitting here along the massive Chitwa Dam, where there is quite a bit of life in this little corner of the dam. Not too sure what's happening here. There's a congregation, a couple of herons, egrets, as well as the hippos. Have a look at all of these sleeping hippos. They are probably, I mean, we can see five. We had five, with four on screen. There's probably another maybe four in between these guys. You might see a nostril here and there. These hippos are just, taking it in, relaxing a little bit from all the activities they did last night. There was a lot of hippo tracks coming all the way down to this dam. Big ones, small ones, tiny ones. Obviously the entire pod was most likely out of the water, feeding on the grass, getting in their food for the day, and now they are trying to catch up on a few winks. Have a little bit of a nap. I'm sure they would have been out all night last night. Hippos do need to stay in the water during the daytime, especially when the sun is shining. Very, very sensitive skin and very moist skin. So should their skin be exposed to the sun for too long, they actually slowly start to sweat the pigment out of their skin. No, Wilson, that's a very good question, and the answer is yes. You know, if there's like a long grasses and weeds, hippos will feed on the vegetation, obviously within the dam itself, and you'll find obviously not so much weed here because I think these hippos already dealt with it and they don't allow it to come back, but in places like in the Okavango and Okavango Delta, where you get almost like not like an algae bloom, but the massive bloom of grass. What is going on here? There's the hippos playing. What? Hippos are up to something in the water there. Oh my goodness. We're going to send you over to down to Amakala, where we hopefully will get a very, very pretty view.
So the conditions are pretty challenging, to say the least, on the ground. We've been looking around for all of those special creatures that we've seen their tracks and signs of, but no luck as of yet. So we've come to a nice viewpoint, normally overlooking the Bushman's River Basin, but we can't see much from here. So I reckon let's head you on up to the eye in the sky.
This unfolds in front of you.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
I get to wake up every morning and go out there and look for cats. I get to create my everyday safari for myself. Myself, I grew up in the sort of central eastern suburbs of Johannesburg. Fully qualified trails guide and a fully qualified nature conservationist. I love the wild places. I love being in the wilderness. It's probably one of the best jobs I've ever had and probably ever could have.
Every week, the wilderness delivers.
And that's why we're here.
Drama, chaos, crimes, humour. All moments you'll never forget. We've counted them down, argued about them, and finally picked the very best. From rare sightings to classic bush showdowns, this is nature's weekly highlight reel. Sharp facts, bad jokes, and the wildest top 5 you'll see this side of the savannah. It's not just a show, it's a wild bush week.
If you love watching Wild Earth, here's a little tip. Become a member. You can gain access to the channel ad-free, you can rewind and re-watch sightings, and you can join our Tuesday live safaris. There's also behind the scenes videos, fireside chats, and every SafariLIVE episode, whenever you want it. It's just a better way to stay connected to nature. Tensions are flying here. I think that one at the back there is not very happy. But I suppose when someone also wakes you up when you don't expect to be woken up, I imagine you'd also be a little bit upset. Oh, Kyle says he thinks someone peed in the water here. Oh! Oh my goodness, that is a big boy. Lola, you know, if the fighting went on for a very, very long time, yes, they could. You know, they can inflict some serious damage on each other. You can see at the top left-hand side of the screen there's a hippo playing with his tail. Or he was. He's just doing a bit of scent marking over there. Oh, it didn't even landed on his back. Goodness me. And that's what they do. It's a sign of like, well, trying to scent mark. You know, lions will go and they'll scent mark up against the bush, and then another male lion will go and scent mark against that same bush. It's exactly the same with the male hippos here. What they do is they will lift their bums pretty much out the water, and they will start well, basically releasing some of their droppings, and their tail serves as like a little paddle, well, not a paddle, a little whisk that sort of dishes it out and sprays it all over the place. A little fan, shall I say. I think that's a better word to use, a little fan. And their droppings fly absolutely everywhere and even land on the backs. So, oh, there we go. Quite funny how they dive. They dive like seals. Massive seal, this. Quite entertaining to watch, I must say. Obviously, I don't think it's entertaining for the hippo that's being chased, but it's quite entertaining. Now, this is that boy there. He's a massive hippo. I just saw his whole head come out the water earlier, and I thought, oh my goodness. You know, you hear stories of people on the Zambezi canoeing and these poor guys in their little dugout canoes have their canoes broken in half. Lani, you're asking how many bulls are in a pod typically. Usually one big male, dominant male, and then there can be a couple of other bulls around. Young bulls, obviously submissive, otherwise they will be chased away. Hey? Cool. Can I send you over to Ben, who's got a giraffe?
That sounds like a pretty cool sighting there, Eric, with your hippos, but we have bumped into a couple of giraffe. There's the other one in the background. Very pale giraffe as well. I've noticed the few that we've seen have all been rather light in colour, but this one particularly so. You can almost see almost more like bleached. You get some very dark giraffe. This one very, very pale. Now, I was in Kruger National Park the other day, and I actually saw something I've never seen before, a big male giraffe like this. And he had a gaping hole in the side of his head, and I do mean hole, just underneath one of those ossicones. I couldn't even see to the bottom of this hole. It must have been 2 or 3 inches deep. There was some fluid leaking out of it, and I took quite a few pictures. I did actually post them, and I put them on my pages there and asked a few people, and they thought perhaps what had happened is that in a fight he'd maybe taken a swing at another male giraffe. The other giraffe had got out of the way and possibly smacked his head against a rock or a tree stump or something and basically split the skull open. But he was still going strong. It looked like he'd lost sight in one eye, but it is pretty amazing when you do see them fight with one another. Tony, have you had any experiences with watching giraffes necking and smacking one another's like that?
Yeah, I sure have. And for such gentle creatures, it's interesting, how competitive they can get. I actually once saw a wildebeest with a hole in its head as well, but functioning, just continuing to go about its business, and animals like incredibly resilient.
We say that all the time. The number of times we see animals and we think this has not got a hope, and a week later you see it and it's as you said, functioning perfectly.
I watched an impala once literally running for its life, and following it was an African wild dog with 3 legs. Still perfectly able to hunt and run with 3 legs. Amazing.
It is amazing. But yeah, I can't believe this thing was fine. So it looked like he'd lost sight in one eye, but it's very difficult to explain. But this hole must have been 3 inches by 1.5 inches. I've never seen anything like it. It's obviously an old injury because it had healed and all the bone had fused together again, but it must have gone down pretty much to the brain casing.
I was in the Kagalagari the other day watching them. What do? They lick bones or
osteophagia. Yeah, they chew on bones to get calcium and phosphorus to try and strengthen their own skeleton. Yeah. Do you want me to move slightly, Panda? Because sorry, everyone. I'm just they're kind of going behind the car. Let's just get you a little better view. In fact, whilst we just reposition, let's send you back over to Eric and his hippopotami.
The hippos are still on it. There's the tail wagging.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
Greatest wildlife spectacle on planet Earth. We'll see you there.
As an audience or maybe referees here in this game of touches, we're going to send you over to the Mara and see, well, I'm sure it's a little bit calmer up there.
Well, hippos, when they go for each other, you never know what could happen. But with huge canine teeth, sometimes they have been known to hurt each other very badly. And I've always said hippos, to me, is one of some of the most dangerous animals we got in Africa. Not that the warthogs are not dangerous. They may look small, but if they find you on the wrong footing, for instance, say one warthog is running away from something, a predator, or it has just been spooked by something, and it's running, and especially the fully grown males, and it bumps on your foot, believe me, it's going to fracture your foot. So they may look harmless, but at the same time, they could be dangerous depending on the situation. Now, I stopped here to show you some pretty young piglets. If you look carefully there, you'll see some. They're rested now, and not much action like what Eric had with the hippos. But the 4 tiny youngs, not sure why. James, if you pan there exactly, you can see behind the Thomson gazelle lying down. There's some piglets there now on the move. 4 of them, just on the edge of the short grass and the tall elephant grass. I was talking about one member of the Topi pride called Summer that brought down 4 piglets in 3 minutes. Because in a situation of an emergency, they just run in circles, especially if they're in an open area where they cannot disappear in the grass. They get so confused. The parents also don't want to be brought down by the predators, and it gets to a point where I believe they say everybody for himself and herself, and the piglets are just torn apart or just slapped and they die by the predators. See how small they are? They disappear in the grass as much as it looks pretty short. Lying down there are the Tomis or the Thomson gazelles. We also got Topis here. Chad, great comment. You're saying you love the greenness of the Mara. And Chad will tell you, in general, the Mara remains green all around the year. We get about 1,000 millimeters of rainfall in the Mara, of course, depending, give or take. But in general, it's always sufficient or ample rainfall to keep it green. Chad, the area you see here, once in a while you get the game rangers banning certain sections of the reserve, and this will be the result after it rains. We'll be going to the short rain sometimes in October, November, so I want to believe it'll even be more green than it is now. I said earlier we got pigs here, the warthogs, Thomson gazelles, Topis, and even some zebras. What a sight to see all these different species living in harmony. Jody, you're asking how close can the animals get to the camp we're staying in called Governors? 2 meters or 3 meters. And I'm talking about hippos and even elephants. But, Jody, that is during the night. During the day, Jody, we'll see a lot of warthogs running around in the camp, lots of hornbills, the trumpet hornbills. We'll see them on trees, the vervet monkeys. You know, all over, you come out of your tent, you bump into one just feeding. There's one particular pair of warthogs that is one pair, but they got 8 piglets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I would want to believe they could be adopting 4 from another mother that could have been lost to a predator. They normally get 1, 2, or 3 maximum piglets in general when they drop them, but that one particular pair has 8 of those babies, and I think they could be having 4 from a different set because they look different in size. Elephants, you know, Jody, when you go to bed, you'll just hear them very close to your tent. Normally, we can't come out. Hippos, you can hear them as they just pull the grass out from the campgrounds or just very close to your tent. But it's always very clear. Stay in your tent, get tucked in your bed until the following morning, because by the time we are up 5 in the morning, 5:15, 5:30, we just see their tracks. If they had any dung, they leave it behind. And sometimes you can always have an idea how long before they left. Judy, 3 days ago, we had a little bit of a situation where the tent James is, there was a hippo just next door for so long, and we thought would be late for the drive. Anna Marie, wonderful to see the Thomson gazelles in such an open, nice area. So maybe the next thing, Anna Marie, we should be seeing is a cheetah like what we saw 4 days ago. Who knows? Stay tuned. Baying ruminants, Topis, chewing cats. Not sure the age of these youngsters here would be able to do that. But if you look, we have one member who is not feeding. She could be the nurse or the auntie in charge of managing all these young ones here, maybe almost 10 of them, staying so close together. So you've got 2 of them lying down and looking 2 different directions, while all the other adults are busy feeding. This is the beauty of the Masai Mara. So cool. They'll not go to the grass you see in the background there of your screen, because definitely that will not be any nutritious. That could be left to big herbivores like ellis. John Perrin, you're saying it's wonderful to see such youngsters and so many of them. I've always thought every time we see numbers of youngsters of any species coming up, we always know there's a good continuity of the wildlife in Africa. And we see lots of these, especially in the Masai Mara. I've said many times, we have that one big advantage of having a very big, vast area for wildlife. So I'm debating whether to go back to the Mara River on my way, looking for the Paradise Pride, because I've always said water, like Steve says, is the currency of life, and anytime you're near any water body, anything could happen, like what Eric is doing.
Our hippos are back at it again, once more. Trying to figure out, I don't know, at one stage it looked like maybe one of them wanted to mate with one of the females, and she maybe wasn't having it, so that's why she was probably maybe running away from him. Not too sure. Not too sure, but they had gone all the way to the other side of the dam, were chasing each other around that side, and then they came all the way back to the side. And Of course, they do not swim across, they run along the bottom of the dam. Hippos cannot swim. They float, but those legs don't really generate enough power to propel them through the water with the speed that they tend to move through. So that's usually they're running. Also don't necessarily always congregate in really deep areas of dams. Under absolutely, definitely trouble in Hippo land, for sure. Not impressed with each other, I'll tell you that. But yeah, it could be youngsters chasing each other around, this minor disagreement, or it could be one male trying to mate with a female. Oh, where are you going? Where are you off to? Chasing someone else now. I don't know if they maybe disturbed something, but I did see somewhere in between that hippo and us there was a catfish surfacing. We've seen this type of behavior before in Treehouse Dam on Djuma. A catfish surfacing off on the surface of the water. You see there's two names that you can potentially use. You can use a pod, or you can also use a bloat. A bloat of hippos. Those are two collective nouns that you can use to refer to a large group of hippos. It doesn't have to be a large group of hippos. It can be a group of hippos. What's happening here? Sheesh. Look at the size of that guy. He is big. And we're going to send you over to a beautiful virtual safari and see what happened on this particular one.
Hi all, I'm JP. I'm a field guide here at Sibuya Game Reserve. A little bit of a history background. I started my career here at Sibuya. Been guiding for about 7 years. So the thing that puts Sibuya ahead of other places is the diversity of biomes that you get here. So mostly alpine is hicket, but we've got a lot of grass plains. We've got an estuary running through the game reserve. There's very thick foresty areas. It's a little bit of everything. It doesn't matter what you're looking for, Sibuya's got a bit of it for you. This morning we started quite early to try and find the Cape buffalo that you see just behind us. So best time to go and look for these guys early in the mornings and late in the afternoon. That's when they start walking around feeding. Sun's not out yet, so it's still quite cool for them. So that's when they start moving around, makes it a bit easier to find them. Buffaloes, they bulk grazers, so best place to be looking for them is big open fields like you can see just here behind us. We managed to find a nice big herd with about 100 buffaloes. In the herd over here, you'll see there's, well, quite a lot of bulls, quite a lot of cows. And the way to tell the difference, you just look at the boss, the big horn in the middle. The big ones, that's the bulls. The bulls normally fight with one another for dominance. In a big herd like this, there's not just one dominant bull, there'll be a couple of dominant bulls. Depending where they are in the herd and where the females are that's in heat, depends on the bull that will be mating with them. And then obviously the ones with the smaller horns, those are the cows. So what the herd's busy doing now, they're just slowly moving, grazing along, probably making their way to a little water hole or mud wallow. So late today, when it's a bit hotter, they'll just lay down and ruminate, where they'll start re-chewing all this grass that they're busy eating now. If we do find them later, you'll just see a lot of buffaloes laying down, relaxing. So good thing that we spotted them now, at least getting a bit of action, seeing them do something besides just sleeping. You can see the elephant over here feeding off the prickly pears. So prickly pears in this area is a big infestation almost. The elephants are one of the culprits. So prickly pears make this delicious fruits, a lot of seeds in it, and elephants don't have a very good digestive system, so as soon as their dung falls out, the prickly pear just starts growing again. Elephants have got quite thick skin, so you'll see even with the big thorns that's on the prickly pears, it doesn't bother them at all. So they just pluck the new leaves because the thorns are quite small still, and just start eating it. Generally, when they take the bigger leaves, they'll first throw it on the ground with their feet, rub it, and get those big thorns off before eating it.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
Real, you say the best kind of roadblock? Absolutely. Look at this.
Hello, girls.
How cool is this?
Might run into the thickets for safety, but she seems to be quite at home in this grass field. Grassfield today, teeming with life. We've got the reedbucks, we've got some impalas walking about, quite a lot of zebras. At the back, a lot of inyalas as well, waterbuck, some buffaloes, and on top of the hill there's an elephant just munching away on the grassy plains there at the top. Thanks for joining us, and we'll hope you join us again to see what we can find in the African bush.
Oh, welcome back to Soundringham, everybody. We have found a well, I'm not sure how big the group is, but a herd of elephants have got, looks like 3 old cows. One's crossed the road already. A couple more, and I can hear some trumpeting and some branches off to our right. We're just sort of driving alongside one of these riverbeds. So a little bit more vegetation here. Maybe there was some water down in a little pool in there. But lovely to spend time with these ellies. I don't know about you, Tony, but I always feel such a connection to elephants. They're such an emotive creature, and I know you've done a few books focusing on elephants as well, but in all your travels around Africa you must have had some incredible experiences with elephants over the years.
Yeah, we have, and it never gets tired, does it, to see these amazing giants of the bush. I did a book called Ivory a few years ago, which looks at the kind of the movements of elephants in this part of southern Africa, between South Africa and Mozambique, and they were hunted out in this area, back in the 19th century and across a lot of South Africa, and many of them sort of found refuge across the border in Mozambique, in the old Portuguese East Africa. But then as that country then went through unrest and war in the 70s, 80s and 90s, those elephants started coming back into what's now into the Kruger Park area, and I've tried to show that through one elephant's life, and he intersects with a human from Mozambique, and their journeys intersect over the years. But also just to show how, nature's not a stagnant thing, and sometimes it's because of human influence that things change and patterns change. And we have the situation today, of course, with fences dropped from the Kruger Park and elephants doing well, expanding, moving out into areas where, look, they probably were over 150 years ago, and now they're coming back.
Well, as you said, it's a dynamic thing, nature, but it works over much longer time periods than we tend to give it credit for. Myself, Panda and Simba were sat around last night having a chat also about how much damage the elephants have done. But it's saying if you look at pictures of these areas here 150 years ago, it was much more open, and then cattle farming has come in. We've had overgrazing and poor management back in those days, and that's created more of a wooded area. And now with all the influx of these elephants, it's changing it again. And is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It's just a natural progression, and nature goes through these cycles, as you said. But I think we were chatting last night, and just we have to remember that nature works over hundreds of years, whereas we tend to think in tens of years is a long time. It's just a blink of an eye as far as nature is concerned.
Yeah, and in books like Ivory and a couple of the others, I've also covered where the other great issues facing animals in Africa is we do tend to talk about poaching quite a lot of the time, but loss of habitat is probably the number one threat to species. But it's why I do look for positives in the books, and always like a happy ending. But other good initiatives that I've tried to highlight are things like the Trans-Frontier Parks. We have neighbouring countries working together, as Kruger has done with Mozambique and Zimbabwe, just to give these animals, particularly large animals like elephants, space to move. It was interesting when the Kruger Park exported several hundred elephants to Mozambique when we were first coming to Africa about 25 years ago. A lot of them came back because they didn't feel safe.
No.
But now they are moving back and crossing borders, and also in countries like Zimbabwe and Zambia, where opening borders, at least allowing animals free movement, is helping them spread out and occupy more territory.
No, absolutely. We always say animals don't need passports, so they have every right to go where they want. But I'd love to see these three. It's strange. We've got 3 old cows. I can see another one just sort of through the trees on the right. I haven't seen any youngsters here, but it's definitely a breeding herd. So the first cow who passed us was very, very old. You could see just from the way that she sort of looked in general. The one who crossed the road is feeding off to the left, who had no tusks, also an old cow, but I haven't seen any youngsters here. But there are still some rustlings and some branches, but I think maybe with the fact that it's a little bit cooler today, all of a sudden there's a little bit of a breeze in there, and I often find that on these overcast mornings the bush is a bit quieter. It's like there isn't that mad panic to get everything done before it gets to 3,000 degrees Celsius like it tends to do here in Hoedspruit, and things take their time a little bit more. I would say it's a bit like us waking up in the morning and it's look out the window and it's a bit gloomy, and you just roll over and go back to sleep for another 20 minutes. Margaret, yes, the elephant calves, they will keep up with the herd, but as I'm sure you know, elephants are excellent mothers, and if they need to hang back for the calves, they will do. Obviously, it does become more difficult in bigger areas, particularly if there's a climatic problem like a drought and the elephants have to travel long distances. That can be very taxing on the little ones if they have to traverse over big distances, and unfortunately occasionally some calves do succumb to those long perilous journeys if they haven't got access to enough water on the way through. But the herd is an incredibly stable unit. There's, say, oh hello, we've got another one who's just going to pop out the bush next to us. And they're sort of filtering out. They're so quiet you don't even hear them. You may be able to hear the branches. Really, are you going to walk straight towards us? You have an entire open area to go to. Hello, girlie. It doesn't matter how many times that happens when you have such a close encounter. It's such a mix of emotions. There's a little bit of trepidation and just wonder and awe.
There's that rush as they get close, yeah. And
Yeah,
I
a
think
little
that
bit of
feeds
adrenaline.
the addiction of Africa, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've sort of got goosebumps already. And not, you know, it's absolutely no aggression. That's what I love about elephants, is that, oh, here come some little ones. Let me just move forward a touch. There are some little ones here. There had to be with a herd like this. There we go.
Nicola and I were at a fishing camp on the Zambezi River one time, sleeping in an outdoor stoop on a veranda area, and woke up in the middle of the night with this shadow on our mosquito net. It was this male who was standing over us, and we could hear and feel and smell his breath through the mosquito net as he just stood there watching us. It was amazing.
Cool experiences. Tracy, how do they protect their young? Well, the nice thing about being an elephant is that you're very, very large, and there is no predator here that is going to get in your way. There is not a lion on this planet, unless it's sick or rabid or something, that isn't going to get out of the way of a rampaging elephant. So it's pretty much the safest place you can be as a baby elephant, is have the rest of mum close by, but also because of the close-knit community of the herd structure. Remember that most of the females here are related. There's a lot of blood bonds there. And they will actively chase off any potential dangers. It does happen, of course. There are cases where lions have hunted elephants. The famous pride up in the Savuti Channel in Botswana that made a habit of hunting young elephants, but they would take out sort of young bulls, so that didn't have the support of the rest of the group around them. And where these youngsters can have problems is, as we were asked earlier, if one does get separated, maybe the herd's on a big migration, and one does get left behind or separated, then that is a dangerous proposition. And a few young elephants have lost their lives to predators, lions and hyenas in that regard. But generally speaking, an elephant herd is not something that you want to mess with if you are a predator. But nice to see these two youngsters, not tiny ones, haven't seen any little very, very small cars, but I can see some down in the riverbed off to the right as well. But a couple of teenagers there. Maybe the younger one was sort of late single figures, the slightly larger one maybe around 9, 10, 11. But always nice to see the next generation of animals, and I'm sure they're looking forward to the rain and some new produce. Dark mane lover, yeah, they're very relaxed, these elephants. It's always interesting for me coming to an area like this, coming to Sandringham. There is always, say, a little bit of a sense of trepidation, because we do tend to sort of develop a false sense of security around things like elephants if you see the same individuals and you begin to trust them. But it's one thing I've learned over the years, is I have more respect for an elephant than I do of any other animal out here. When I started my guiding career, it was kind of fun to get them as close as possible, and even when you're doing walks, to try and have amazing close encounters with the elephants. But over the best part of 20 years, I've seen enough and I've experienced enough, and I know people who have had near misses and things, and the power that this animal has, I'm quite happy to view them from distance. So when you have one walk past the car, that one we just saw, I mean, what do you reckon, Tony? It was 2 meters in front of the bumper. Yeah, but it always makes you a little bit apprehensive, but already the breeding herds here seem to be surprisingly relaxed. It's only Penelope, who is one of our viewers, that says she has 4 of your books at home, which she's read, and she wishes she had more, but the library apparently does have some more. But yeah, always nice to meet a fan.
Well, that's wonderful. And Penelope, what I would say is if you go to my website, tonypark.net, I'm actually doing a giveaway of a free book. So if you don't have Silent Predator, one of the early books, if you go to my website, there's a pop-up. If you're happy to enter your email address for my newsletter, you can get a free book, and that's for anybody watching Wild Earth, a free ebook.
Oh, well, there you go, everybody. If you don't have any of Tony's books, or even if you have all of them except that one, that is an excellent opportunity. So you say tonypark.net.
Tonypark.net, you'll get a pop-up with various offers and 50% off ebooks as well too, and a chance to win a print copy of my latest book, Die by the Sword, if you just comment on one of the social media posts on my Facebook or Instagram at Tony Park Author.
Excellent. Well, I hope you got that. And if any of you are wondering, I have just read Tony's latest book, Die by the Sword. I finished it a couple of days ago, safe in the knowledge that I was going to meet the man himself, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I would highly recommend it, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit more this evening during our fireside chat. So don't forget to join us at 7 o'clock for that. All right, but this has been a beautiful sighting, lovely close encounters, seeing some young ones as well. It's been a quiet morning, but this has been definitely a highlight thus far. But we are going to send you back across to Eric, who's doing some birding.
So on that stick was a bird. Now it's just a stick. Yes, it was a fork-tailed drongo, but he flew off. One positive, though, is that I think we found probably the only spot on the reserve that is not in the mist, and we're trolling around the dune forest area, looking for any of those caracal, brown hyena, porcupine of the tracks that we saw this morning. And it does remind me, we had a braai the other night, and Steve Martins, who is the manager of Leeuwenbusch Lodge, they've got what they call a pet porcupine. Now, it's a wild porcupine, but it was hand-raised, and it continuously returns in the evenings to the Leeuwenbusch Lodge, where they often, well, when they were hand raising it, they often fed it peanuts, of which, and the monkey nuts, of which it stripped and would eat. And also it loves sweet potatoes, which it also strips the skin of perfectly and then eats the sweet potato. And the question he posed to me was, why, if the skin of all of these lovely fruit and vegetables is the most nutritious, why would a porcupine skin it and peel it and get rid of it? And I didn't have an answer for him because I'm neither here nor there. I always thought that the skin is the most nutritious, but it seems like a porcupine thinks otherwise. So
oh, wow.
The bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold. A mix of drama,
She's just got an impala, everybody.
danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
Everything here counts, and to see them with the cattle egrets, it makes it even more cooler, you know? See how mean they look? Like that one James is trying to frame. They look very friendly, very harmless. But before you know the damage they can do, it's unbelievable. The magical Mara for you with Big James. Is what I call clean areas without any visual pollution. If anything is clean wilderness, wildlife, the vegetation, Cape buffaloes, the cattle egrets, Topi's way in the background. See how they're looking at us. They're turning the other way. Ryan, good question. You're talking over buffaloes dealing with lions during a hunt. And I'm sure you know, Ryan, these are immortal enemies. I mean, the relationship between buffaloes and lions has never, ever been good at any given time. The last I saw one was about 3-4 years ago. And the Topi Pride were trying to hunt a buffalo. They won. There was a siege or a standoff between the buffaloes, or the one particular individual they were hunting, and the lions, and one female was injured so badly, and unfortunately she later on died. It wasn't easy. And if you've been following yesterday and the day before, I was showing you one of the Topi boys that is called Moja Moja, who has picked a small little wound, top left lip. And I'm thinking that could have been from a buffalo horn. It cannot be anything else. I don't think what would have caused that, but I'm thinking that could have been from a buffalo horn. Yes, once in a while, that's the only one recently I can remember, but many times they go for each other. But to see an actual fight, that when I saw that female, who unfortunately afterwards passed on. Time to regurgitate and chew cud. Cattle egrets either enjoying the sun on top of the buffaloes. Not sure why would they be there. Dark main lover Jumbo for myself and Big James, and you're saying this is a beautiful scenery, and maybe BJ will want to make it even better for you, Dark main lover. Always such joy to hear your name. Seeing a single tree in the middle of nowhere, still standing. Apparently, this is one of my most beautiful landscapes where we are with James right now, that even without wildlife, I'll always point out to James and tell him one day I'm going to build my own tent there if the management of the game reserve are going to allow me. Ooh, see the birds, they're in flight. Woohoo! Beautiful. Oh, those are the cattle egrets. And you see, they tend to go to the buffaloes that are busy eating, because those are the ones, or that's the area where they have a big possibility of getting insects or food as they keep moving the grass. Otherwise, once they lie flat, they're like, we don't have much of a chance yet to keep feeding, unlike the ox speakers that will get the parasites on the bodies of the buffaloes. The cattle egrets will always depend on these buffs moving in the grass. Emil, Jambo, Jambo, I'm sure Emil, you know Jambo Jambo means hello, hello. And very good question at your age of 3 years. And you're asking whether I have seen any snake today. Not yet. And I'm surprised you are talking about snakes. Many people, oh, you know, kids of your age get very scared even to talk about snakes. But we got about, I'm looking at my watch, another half an hour or so before the end of the drive. If either myself or my colleagues in South Africa bump into a snake, I'm sure we'll be happy to bring it to your screen. It is quite calm here. There's no wind, it's very slight movement of the grass. The buffaloes, as usual, swishing their tails. Some standing up, some laying down, maybe depending on what they have eaten, or of course different individuals will, you know, have different preferences on how they want to, what body posture they want to be staying in. And I'll be telling these buffs to have a beautiful day as we go to a bit of budding in Amakala.
So at least we're not just showing you a stick this time. We're actually showing you a reasonably common bird, but that is not often, I would say, correctly identified. Can you see there? It is a little bit far, but and he's also trying to dry out from the mist. Very yellow around the eye, with the yellow beak, and then lots of white dots on the shoulder and on the belly, and a bit of a purple tinge to the throat. And that is in fact the ramarin, or the African olive pigeon. Fairly common resident, like I say, but not always identified. When I first saw it, I actually thought it was a bird of prey. And according to Newman's, yellow bill and feet conspicuous, even in flight. Didn't check the feet. Otherwise appears as a large dark pigeon with pale head. And it's gone. What I also love is about the verbal descriptions of the call. The call is a deep, bubbling kru kruka kruka koo, kru kruka kruka koo. Usually in flocks, where trees are fruiting, even entering suburban gardens. In montane regions, roosts in evergreen forests or exotic plantations, flying considerable distances daily to food sources. They often go to roost early, sunning itself conspicuously on treetops in the late afternoon and, like we've just seen, in the early misty mornings. But now that he's gone, so are you to Eric.
Well, speaking of flying, I mean, the wind is The wind is picking up, but we are being bothered by flies, actual flies, like little insects that land on you and annoy you. That time of day again, you know, it takes them a while to get warmed up before they want to start bothering you again. Anyway, we are on a scratching mission. Seems that the leopards that we were looking for, who we thought were around, are still on the next door neighboring property. So Kuchava, Kuchava, Relani and Chipuku, all three of them together are I don't think they're on a kill. I just think they're all together on the same road that Relani was seen on yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So very, very cool. And not too sure, no one said anything about what Kuchava's leg looks like, but I imagine it's healing ever so slowly, but healing. And she is getting around. I mean, she was, the last we heard of her, no, there was another update on where she was, but she was seen on Little Gari, and now she's all the way on the other side of Chitwa and Annette's. So she's quite far on the other side. So she's able to move around with ease, which is, I think, the most important thing, because if she's able to do that, she's able to make kills. And I think she can make a kill, feed her body, her wounds will heal up quite quickly. Oh, Lucy, absolutely. I think, you know, I just want to all just want the best for this not so little madam and her little madam and little sir, as they are growing up into adult leopards. Anyway, I'd like to thank Bush Tech for one, their luxury tents that they have put up, and for sponsoring this morning's sunrise safari. These Bush Tech tents are absolutely amazing, and luxurious tents. So for those who love being in the bush and want something rough and tough, look no further than a Bush Tech tent.
Best sighting I've presented. I found myself with wild dogs. We chased the dogs around, chased them around. They ate an impala. We got the end of that. Then another impala went into Chitwa Dam down the road there, and the wild dogs went around. Eventually the impala came close to the bank. One wild dog went and grabbed it and then just pulled it out and just did what wild dogs do. It was an emotional experience, but it was very, very special.
Some ellies that we're approaching now.
The light on her as well is absolutely gorgeous.
So we are going to enjoy the rest of this sunset.
Wow, this is absolutely crazy.
And thank you for joining us. For myself and Cam, we will see you next time.
Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Wild Earth Travel's newsletter is your passport to a magical journey. Explore exclusive travel options featuring special offers at stunning Wild Earth locations and all hosted by your favorite presenters. Don't miss out. Head over to our website and subscribe to the Wild Earth Travel newsletter today and stay in the know on all our unforgettable adventures. Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
Nothing is left unused out here, but this won't be their only home base. With dwarf mongooses, you normally find they hold a territory of maybe 1, maybe 2 sort of square kilometers, so quite big for a small animal. And they'll systematically move through that territory as a group, foraging as they go. But they're pretty good. They don't stay in one place for too long, otherwise they will take away all the resources they have in that area. So they'll slowly loop through their area, and wherever the closest sort of bolt hole is when darkness comes, that will be their refuge for the evening. And they may well stay at the same place over multiple nights, but they will migrate through their territory. More often than not, it's old termite mounds like this, but maybe something like the root structures that have been exposed, and elephants have pushed over a tree, maybe some crevices and things in rocks. But more often than not, you find them in these termite mounds. And like I said, there are at least 2 there now, so maybe they are beginning to emerge. It looks like an adult with a youngster. You can see actually their hair is a bit puffed up, trapping a little bit of heat. There's a cool wind blowing this morning. Oh, there's number 3. We've got 3 heads sticking out now. So yeah, I think this first one was just checking that the coast is clear, and 2 youngsters flanking either side. Anna-Marie, I'm with you completely. I'm sat here with a bit of a cheesy grin on my face. There is just something, they just make you smile. It's like baby elephants, but you can't help be moved by little dwarf mongoose. I always describe them as they're little gummy bears. If you look at their faces, that's what they remind me of. Their little pink noses. Very, very alert a lot of the time, but yeah, who knows how many's in there. These colonies we could have 20 or 30 mongoose somewhere in there, but always an alpha pair, alpha male and females, that do the breeding, and then it's a big scrum. Everybody fights for the honor of babysitting the youngsters and helping to teach them the ways and the techniques, because they're very, very clever. Mongoose, they learn the best ways to take certain things out. Things like millipedes, you'll see them sometimes rolling them around on the floor to try and make sure that the millipede exhausts all of that toxin that they can produce to defend themselves. So definitely a big learning curve, and so it's seen as quite the honor to look after the youngsters. And occasionally, if you're really lucky, you might see one or a group of them crossing the road. Perhaps they're migrating to a new area, and you sometimes see them carrying the little babies in their mouths as they skip across the road. It looks like the youngsters came out and decided maybe it's still a little bit early, go and have a bit more of a doze. Diantha. Nice name, what a lovely name, Diantha. Diantha, how do you age a mongoose? Tony, you wanna field that one? Diantha, I have no idea. I'd even have to double check what the life expectancy is of a dwarf mongoose, if I'm honest. I would think probably 7, maybe 10 years at a push, but that is a complete guess. No, I have no idea how to age them, I'm afraid. I imagine that if you find a deceased mongoose, that there would be a way by looking at the teeth, or maybe the wear and tear on the claws or the nails from digging. But once they get fully grown, I am not too sure, Diantha, I'm afraid. But I've just been informed that Eric has a special surprise for us, so let's quickly send you back down there and see what he's got. I'm also intrigued.
It's not over until the fat lady sings. I don't know where the fat lady is, and nor do I know where she's going to be singing. But we found ourselves a leopard. We were on our way to go and visit some elephants, and there were little tracks coming down the road, and I thought it was hyenas, as I've been seeing hyena tracks for a very, very long time. Almost sure all of the roads have been covered by hyena tracks. Anyway, as we come over the little bump, I look to the right and I see it does look like spots, rosettes. Wait, they are. I did see some track. We found some tracks earlier this morning heading in exactly this direction. And we find this lady sitting on a termite mound. How lucky are we? Absolutely amazing. Now, I don't quite know who this is. I think it's Langa. I think that can't say for sure. Beautiful female though, beautiful female. But I know there are some of you out there that will know exactly who this beautiful lady is, and please don't hesitate to let us know as well, as soon as you know. Oh, Waikisha, absolutely, thank you. It is we've been looking and listening out, and sure, it's been a while since I think the last leopard we had was Rulani, and that was, I think, one of the afternoon drive, because in the morning drive we no, it was the morning, it was, I can't actually, was it Monday? Yeah, that's true, it was Monday, as we had her there in the morning, because the day before we had her brother in the morning with the carcass. He pulled it up into the tree, Shapuku pulled it up into the tree, and she went in there in the afternoon for it, and she was feeding on it, and sure. Who are you? Shame, she is quite warm. The heat is starting to pull in. I imagine she might, once it starts getting a little bit too warm for her, I mean, there is a little bit of shade for her where she is. She might disappear behind us and down, and well, not behind us, behind her and down into the drainage line.
Let's go and take a look. See you out there.
Even a hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word! She's stalking the hyena now. Leopard, hyena, lion, all together in one shot. Oh. Whoa. This is action-packed.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature, live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
I saw her. It was a brief sighting, and now we can see her full body there. Are you hot, girl? Are you warm? I can imagine. It is a warm day. It is a very, very warm day. But you are somewhat in the shade. There's a bit of a... what is it? I'm not actually too sure what tree is shading her, but there's a bit of shade there for her. There's little toe beans, yes. Here's one of them. We've been following these ones. I'm very glad we decided to take this route back. And I thought, yeah, maybe let's not go back along the dam wall, because that's where we came in from and there was nothing there. So I thought this is probably, like I said, we were heading towards the herd of elephants, and this is probably the quickest way to have gone through. But we're going to send you over to Ben, who's finally found himself his buffalo.
Well, congratulations, Eric. Always nice to get some rosettes towards the end of the drive. But we've also had a strong finish after that nice little group of ellies. We saw some kudu, we had that lovely little dwarf mongoose sighting, and now we've finally come across this group of buffalo that we've been sort of half-heartedly tracking this morning. Just before we had the mongoose, we were following tracks for this herd across the road. They went into the block, so we were skirting around, and we've just found them on the other side of the block. So quite a big group. First time I've seen these buff. I believe they do split up into smaller groups, but there must be, it's hard to know because they're sort of scattered around, but I would say close to 100 in the area here, and we've got a lovely little group of bulls here. You can see those massive bosses. It's called Judges Wig Convention going on down there. Panda was saying it's nice that they are becoming more relaxed. When we were first here, they were a bit skittish of the vehicles, but now we can watch them relative closeness. Gina, thank you. No, we never give up, eh? And that's I learned many years ago that you can get as stressed as you want about not seeing the animals you want to see or not tracking down whatever it is that you're following, but the likelihood of, and it is such a cliche, but it's true, you can drive around any corner in the bush and see something in the road that you didn't know was there. And that's what has always, for 20 years, kept me coming back for more and more, is that it's unscripted, and sometimes you have busy days, sometimes you have quiet days. And now, we were saying this morning it was very quiet. We hardly saw a mammal for the first 90 minutes of drive. Now we've had a beautiful elephant sighting and capped it off with a nice little smattering of buffalo here. Some really spectacular looking bulls in there too. But having a quiet day, say with it being a bit cloudy, I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to be a little bit more active than perhaps they would normally be, but taking the opportunity to have a little bit of a ruminate. Daisy, I'm glad you've enjoyed the drive. Yeah, it was say a quiet start, but has certainly picked up as we have gone, and so I'm sure Eric has stolen the show with his leopard. I didn't hear which leopard you guys have got down there, but any leopard is a great leopard. But speaking of Eric and leopards, let's send you back to him and his ingwe.
Wow, this lady keeps us on our toes, I'll tell you that much. But, we've repositioned a little. Oh, isn't that adorable? We've repositioned a little bit, and now I've got almost, looks like she's falling asleep on the termite mound here. I think this termite mound is big enough to give her a bit of shade, so hopefully maybe in the afternoon she'll still be here, maybe lying alongside the termite mound itself. It could be quite cool, but she'll probably be lying on the southeastern side of it, away from the sun rays. But if the clouds continue to pile up here, I don't actually see her moving too much. But once again, she is a leopard, and leopards move. And you know, they will go where they please. You know, they tend to move more than lions do during the middle of the day, and they don't be affected. They're not affected by the heat as much, but of course they are affected by the heat a little bit. Kim, it's been an amazing sunrise safari. We've had some rather interesting sightings just alone here in the Sabi Sands. Interesting hippos playing around, and what a lovely way to end our sunrise safari with a beautiful female leopard. Amazing. But oh, absolutely amazing. Oh, she's now sleeping. Now, I hope everyone has enjoyed this morning as much as we have enjoyed it, and we hope that you will join us later this afternoon as we will head out to try and potentially find this beautiful lady again. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully she sticks around in this area. Nice little sort of drainage area, a bit of shade. But until then, we hope that you enjoy the rest of your amazing Sunday morning, and we shall see you all later this afternoon.